When a young black man stops to help an elderly woman, he never expects anything in return. But moments later, the woman reveals a truth about her identity that changes his life forever. This is a story of kindness, destiny, and a twist no one saw coming. The city buzzed with the usual hum of life, honking horns, hurried footsteps on concrete, and the chatter of passers-by. Amid this urban symphony, Marcus strolled down a crowded street, his shoulders slightly hunched under the weight of the day. He had just clocked out from his second job at a diner, where he spent long hours scraping together tips and cooking for impatient customers. For Marcus, every penny he earned felt like a battle won. Life hadn't been easy for him. Raised by his grandmother in a small, run-down apartment, he grew up understanding the value of hard work and perseverance. But even with 2 jobs and a determination carved from years of struggle, his dream of opening his own soul food restaurant seemed frustratingly out of reach. Still, he pressed on, carrying that hope like a flickering flame he refused to let die. As he turned a corner onto a quieter street, something caught his attention. Near the edge of the sidewalk, an elderly woman stood beside a toppled grocery cart, the contents of her bags scattered across the pavement. She wore a neat but faded coat, and her silver hair framed a face marked by years of life's trials and triumphs. She bent down slowly, trying to gather her belongings, but her frail hands trembled as she struggled to pick them up. Marcus slowed his pace, watching as several people walked past her, oblivious or unwilling to stop. He felt a pang of frustration. He knew what it felt like to be ignored, dismissed as though you didn't matter. Without hesitation, he crossed the street and approached her. Let me help you with that," he said, crouching down to pick up a can of soup that had rolled into the gutter. The woman looked up, startled at first, but her expression softened when she met his kind eyes. "Oh, thank you, young man," she said, voice warm but tinged with exhaustion. "These old hands aren't what they used to be. It's no trouble," Marcus replied, gathering the scattered items and placing them back into her cart. "Are you okay? Did you hurt yourself?" "I'm fine, just clumsy," she said with a chuckle. These streets aren't as smooth as they once were. After helping her upright the cart, Marcus noticed how heavy the bags were. "Where are you headed?" he asked. "Just a couple of blocks down," she said, gesturing toward a tree-lined street with older, stately brownstones. "I'll walk with you," Marcus offered, gripping the handles of the cart. "This thing's got a mind of its own." The woman smiled, a mixture of gratitude and relief crossing her face. "You're very kind," she said. Not many would stop these days. As they walked, Marcus learned her name was Evelyn. She spoke with a quiet dignity, sharing small tidbits about her life, a widow who had lived in the city for decades. Marcus shared pieces of his own story, though he was careful not to dwell on his struggles. He didn't want pity, and he wasn't looking for validation. He simply enjoyed the rare moment of genuine human connection. When they arrived at her building, Evelyn stopped at the foot of the steps leading to her door. The brownstone was modest but well kept, with flower pots lining the stoop. "This is me," she said, motioning for Marcus to bring the cart up. He carried the bags inside for her, placing them neatly on the kitchen counter. "There you go, all set," he said with a smile. Before he could leave, Evelyn reached into one of the bags and pulled out a small envelope. "Here," she said, holding it out to him. Marcus raised an eyebrow, shaking his head. "Ma'am, I didn't help you for a reward." "I know that," Evelyn said with a knowing smile. "But please take it. You've done more for me than you realize." Reluctantly, Marcus accepted the envelope, tucking it into his pocket with a nod of thanks. "You take care, ma'am," he said, turning to leave. As he stepped back onto the sidewalk, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was something extraordinary about Evelyn. But he dismissed the thought, focusing instead on catching the bus home. He didn't yet know that the envelope in his pocket, and the woman he had just helped, would change his life in ways he could never have imagined. The ride home was uneventful, save for the growing curiosity Marcus felt about the envelope Evelyn had given him. He had slipped it into his jacket pocket, intending to forget about it, but the mystery gnawed at him. By the time he reached his small apartment, the intrigue was too much to ignore. Sitting on his worn-out couch, Marcus pulled the envelope from his pocket and carefully opened it. Inside was a handwritten note and a neatly folded check. His eyes widened as he unfolded the check and read the amount. $10,000. What in the world? Marcus muttered, his breath catching in his throat. His hands trembled as he stared at the zeros. It wasn't just a kind gesture, it was life-changing money. The note was written in elegant cursive. Marcus read the note twice, his heart pounding. Who was this woman, and why had she given him such an enormous gift? He couldn't sleep that night, his mind racing with possibilities. Was it a mistake? Did she think he was someone else, or was she just an incredibly generous stranger? The next morning, Marcus decided he had to see Evelyn again. He needed to thank her, of course, but more than that, he wanted answers. He put on his best shirt, a pressed white button-down that had seen better days, and made his way back to her brownstone. Evelyn greeted him at the door with a warm smile. She seemed genuinely happy to see him, as if they were old friends. "Come in," she said, ushering him into her cozy home. The inside of the brownstone was as modest and charming as its exterior. The walls were lined with bookshelves filled with titles that spanned decades. Framed photographs adorned the mantel, capturing moments from a life well lived. A faint aroma of freshly brewed tea lingered in the air. "Tea?" Evelyn offered, motioning for Marcus to sit at the small kitchen table. "Yes, thank you," he replied, his curiosity growing by the second. As she poured the tea, Marcus decided to get straight to the point. I don't know how to thank you for the check, but I have to ask, why? Why would you do this for me?" Evelyn placed the teapot down and took a seat across from him. "Because kindness deserves to be rewarded," she said simply. "And because I believe in investing in people who have the potential to do great things." The words hung in the air, but Marcus wasn't convinced. "I appreciate that, but $10,000 is a lot of money. I'm just a cook trying to get by." Evelyn's eyes sparkled with a hint of mischief. "You're more than that, Marcus. I could see it the moment we met. There's something special about you, a drive, a determination. Tell me, what are your dreams?" Caught off guard, Marcus hesitated. He wasn't used to people asking about his aspirations, let alone caring about the answer. "I've always wanted to open my own restaurant," he admitted. "A place that feels like home, where people can come together over good food and good company. But dreams like that cost money. Money I don't have." Evelyn nodded, her expression thoughtful. "And if you had the resources, would you do it?" "In a heartbeat," Marcus said without hesitation. Evelyn leaned back, studying him for a moment. "Then consider this the beginning of an opportunity. I'd like to invest in your dream, Marcus." Her words left him speechless. Marcus stared at her, trying to process what he had just heard. "Invest? What do you mean?" "I have the means to help you," Evelyn said matter-of-factly. "And I want to. But before we discuss the details, there's something you should know about me." She stood and walked over to a bookshelf, pulling out a framed photograph. It showed a younger Evelyn standing in front of a sprawling estate, her arm linked with a man in a tailored suit. The photo radiated wealth and success. "This was my husband, Harold," she said, her voice tinged with nostalgia. "We built our fortune together. Real estate, technology, philanthropy. When he passed, I dedicated my life to giving back. I don't usually do this so directly, but something about you told me I had to." Marcus was stunned. He had assumed Evelyn was a kind, ordinary woman, but she was far from ordinary. She was a billionaire with the power to change lives, and she had chosen him. "I don't know what to say," Marcus admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Say yes," Evelyn said with a smile, "and let me help you turn your dream into reality." Marcus left Evelyn's home that day feeling both exhilarated and overwhelmed. The idea of owning his own restaurant, a dream he had clung to for years, suddenly seemed within reach. But with opportunity came uncertainty, and Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that he was about to step into uncharted territory. The next day, Marcus met Evelyn at a small cafe she suggested. Over coffee, she laid out her plan. "I'm not just handing you money, Marcus," she explained. "I want to be a partner in your vision. You'll handle the creativity and day-to-day operations, but I'll provide the capital and business guidance to get you started." Marcus nodded, listening intently. "That sounds fair. But why me?" There are plenty of people out there who could use a chance like this. Evelyn smiled knowingly. Because you reminded me of myself. I see the same determination in your eyes that I had when Harold and I started out. And because your story, the kindness you showed without expecting anything in return, deserves to be shared. People need to see that goodness is rewarded. Over the next few weeks, Marcus and Evelyn worked tirelessly to bring the dream to life. Evelyn introduced Marcus to her network of business contacts, connecting him with architects, designers, and chefs who could help refine his vision. Together, they scouted locations, tested recipes, and developed a business plan that would set the foundation for his restaurant. One afternoon, as they toured a vacant space in a bustling downtown neighborhood, Marcus could hardly contain his excitement. The location was perfect. High ceilings, plenty of natural light, and a vibrant community atmosphere. He could already envision the tables filled with families, couples, and friends sharing meals and laughter. "This is it," he said, his voice filled with conviction. "This is the place." Evelyn beamed. "Then let's make it happen." As the renovation process began, Marcus threw himself into the work. He spent long hours at the site, overseeing construction, selecting decor, and perfecting recipes. The restaurant, which he decided to name Evelyn's Table, as a tribute to the woman who believed in him, began to take shape. Despite the excitement, there were moments of doubt. Marcus often wondered if he was truly ready for such a monumental challenge. Running a restaurant was no small feat, and the weight of responsibility sometimes felt overwhelming. But Evelyn's unwavering support kept him grounded. "You don't have to do this alone," she reminded him during one particularly stressful day. "Lean on the people around you. That's what a team is for." Marcus took her advice to heart, assembling a staff that shared his passion for food and hospitality. He hired local talent, prioritizing individuals who had faced their own struggles but were determined to succeed. Together they formed a tight-knit team that felt more like family than colleagues. After months of preparation, the big day arrived. The grand opening of Evelyn's Table. The restaurant buzzed with activity as guests filled the space, their conversations and laughter creating a warm, welcoming atmosphere. The scent of freshly baked bread and sizzling dishes wafted through the air, adding to the sensory delight. Marcus stood by the kitchen, watching the scene unfold with a mixture of pride and disbelief. He spotted Evelyn at a corner table, surrounded by friends and community members who had come to support her latest endeavor. She caught his eye and raised her glass in a silent toast, her expression one of quiet satisfaction. As the evening progressed, Marcus made his way through the crowd, greeting guests and sharing his story. He spoke about the importance of community, kindness, and the power of believing in one's dreams. His words resonated deeply, and by the end of the night, many guests approached him to express their admiration and support. "Your story is an inspiration," one guest said. "It's a reminder that good things come to those who work hard and do the right thing." Marcus smiled, humbled by the sentiment. "I wouldn't be here without Evelyn. She gave me a chance when no one else would. All I want is to pay it forward." After months of preparation, the big day arrived. The grand opening of Evelyn's Table. The restaurant buzzed with activity as guests filled the space, their conversations and laughter creating a warm, welcoming atmosphere. The scent of freshly baked bread and sizzling dishes wafted through the air, adding to the sensory delight. Marcus stood by the kitchen watching the scene unfold with a mixture of pride and disbelief. He spotted Evelyn at a corner table, surrounded by friends and community members who had come to support her latest endeavor. She caught his eye and raised her glass in a silent toast, her expression one of quiet satisfaction. As the evening progressed, Marcus made his way through the crowd, greeting guests and sharing his story. He spoke about the importance of community, kindness, and the power of believing in one's dreams. His words resonated deeply, and by the end of the night, many guests approached him to express their admiration and support. "Your story is an inspiration," one guest said. "It's a reminder that good things come to those who work hard and do the right thing." Marcus smiled, humbled by the sentiment. "I wouldn't be here without Evelyn. She gave me a chance when no one else would. All I want is to pay it forward." The initial success of Evelyn's Table was everything Marcus had hoped for and more. Customers raved about the food, the ambience, and the heartwarming story behind the restaurant. Reviews poured in, with headlines like, "A new gem in downtown dining," and "The restaurant with a story as rich as its flavor." Evelyn's table quickly became a community favorite. But as the weeks turned into months, Marcus learned that success brought its own set of challenges. Running a restaurant was grueling work, and the honeymoon phase didn't last forever. The long hours, staffing issues, and the pressure to maintain high standards began to take their toll. One evening, Marcus found himself pacing in his office, staring at the latest expense reports. Rising food costs and unexpected maintenance bills were eating into the restaurant's profits. To make matters worse, a key employee had just given notice, leaving the team short-staffed during the busy holiday season. Evelyn noticed Marcus's stress during one of her visits to the restaurant. "You look like you haven't slept in days," she said, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. Marcus sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I knew this wouldn't be easy, but sometimes it feels like I'm barely keeping my head above water. I don't want to let you or anyone else down." Evelyn gave him a reassuring smile. "Marcus, every great success story has its struggles. The key is to remember why you started and to lean on the people who believe in you. You don't have to do it all alone." Taking her words to heart, Marcus called a team meeting the next morning. He was honest about the challenges they were facing, but emphasized his faith in their collective ability to overcome them. "We're not just running a restaurant," he told them. "We're building something that brings people together and makes a difference. I can't do it without you, and I don't want to. Let's tackle these challenges together." The team responded with renewed determination. They brainstormed creative solutions, from streamlining the menu to hosting special events that drew in new customers. Marcus also reached out to local suppliers, forming partnerships that helped cut costs while supporting other small businesses. One of the most memorable events was a community night dinner, where Marcus invited local residents to share their stories over a meal. The event was a hit, filling the restaurant with laughter, connection, and a sense of belonging. It reminded Marcus of why he had fallen in love with the restaurant business in the first place. Among the attendees was a young couple who had been inspired by Marcus's story. They approached him after the event, explaining that they were aspiring entrepreneurs looking for guidance. "We've been following your journey since the beginning," the husband said. "Seeing what you've built here has given us the courage to pursue our own dreams." Marcus felt a swell of pride. "If there's one thing I've learned, it's that success is about more than just hard work. It's about believing in yourself and surrounding yourself with people who lift you up. If I can help in any way, don't hesitate to ask." One night, as Marcus was closing up the restaurant, he noticed Evelyn sitting alone at a table, her usual bright demeanor replaced by a reflective expression. "You okay?" he asked, sliding into the seat across from her. Evelyn nodded slowly. "Just thinking about how far we've come, and how much farther we have to go. I've been where you are, Marcus. The pressure, the doubts, it's all part of the journey. But you're doing something remarkable here. Don't forget that." Her words resonated deeply, renewing Marcus's resolve. Together they discussed plans for the future, from expanding the restaurant's reach to creating mentorship programs for aspiring restaurateurs. The challenges Marcus faced didn't disappear overnight, but his newfound perspective and the support of his team made all the difference. He learned to navigate the ups and downs of the business, celebrating the victories and finding strength in the setbacks. Evelyn's table became more than just a restaurant. It became a symbol of resilience, community, and the power of kindness. Customers often shared their own stories with Marcus, thanking him for creating a space where they felt valued and inspired. As Marcus reflected on the journey, he realized that the struggles he had faced were just as important as the triumphs. They had shaped him into a better leader, a more compassionate person, and someone who understood the true meaning of success. With the grand opening of Evelyn's table a resounding success, Marcus felt a deep sense of pride and fulfillment. Yet, the honeymoon phase didn't last long. Running a restaurant quickly proved to be as challenging as it was rewarding. The pressure to maintain high standards, manage a team, and attract a steady flow of customers began to weigh on Marcus. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, Marcus sat in his office, staring at the week's financial reports. While the opening week had been incredible, the numbers for the following weeks were less promising. Reservations were dropping, and several reviews online critiqued the restaurant for minor details. A dish served slightly cold, a delay in service. Each critique stung more than Marcus anticipated. Evelyn, ever the mentor, noticed his frustration during one of her visits. "What's bothering you, Marcus?" she asked, sitting across from him. "It's harder than I thought," he admitted. "Every little mistake feels like a failure. I don't want to let you down." Evelyn leaned forward, her tone gentle but firm. "Marcus, no great success comes without challenges. Mistakes are opportunities to learn. What matters is how you respond. Do you need help addressing the feedback?" Marcus nodded. "I want to make sure we're giving people the best experience possible." Together, they went over the critiques, identifying areas for improvement. Evelyn reminded Marcus to focus on the bigger picture, the community they were building, and the values the restaurant represented. Marcus decided to take a hands-on approach to address the concerns. He spent more time on the floor, speaking with customers and observing the workflow in the kitchen. His team respected his dedication, and his genuine care inspired them to work harder. One evening, a family entered the restaurant, drenched from the unexpected rain. Marcus noticed their discomfort and personally welcomed them, offering warm towels and complimentary appetizers. By the end of the night, the family left glowing with gratitude, posting a heartfelt review online. The gesture sparked a wave of positive feedback, reminding Marcus of the power of personal connection. Evelyn's table wasn't just about food, it was about creating memorable experiences. As word spread, the restaurant began hosting community events, cooking classes for kids, charity dinners, and storytelling nights where locals could share their experiences. These events transformed Evelyn's table into more than just a place to eat. It became a hub for connection and inspiration. One of the most impactful events was a charity dinner Marcus organized to support a local shelter. The turnout was overwhelming, and Evelyn, who rarely showed emotion publicly, was visibly moved. "You're doing something extraordinary, Marcus," she told him afterward. "This restaurant is changing lives." For Marcus, her words were the validation he needed. The challenges he faced were dwarfed by the joy of making a difference. Late one evening, after the restaurant had closed, Marcus stood alone in the dining room. The lights were dim, the tables cleared, and the air was filled with the faint aroma of spices and fresh bread. He thought back to the day he had met Evelyn, the chance encounter that had changed his life. He realized that the struggles he faced now were a testament to how far he had come. Evelyn's table wasn't just a restaurant, it was a symbol of perseverance, kindness, and the power of taking a leap of faith. Marcus knew there would be more obstacles ahead, but he also knew he had the strength and support to overcome them. The following days were a whirlwind for Jason. Word of his incredible encounter with the reclusive billionaire spread quickly. News outlets clamored to interview him, and social media was flooded with posts celebrating his story. People were inspired by his act of kindness and the unexpected reward that followed. Jason, however, remained humble. He made it clear in every interview that he never expected anything in return. "I didn't know who she was," he explained. "I just saw someone in need and did what I hope anyone else would do." Meanwhile, Eleanor found herself reinvigorated by the experience. She began actively seeking ways to connect with the community that had been so supportive during her rise to wealth. She and Jason attended community events together, sharing their story and encouraging acts of kindness. Eleanor's presence at these events was a stark reminder of how much a single good deed could transform lives, including her own. Jason's life changed dramatically. With Eleanor's mentorship, he opened a scholarship fund for underprivileged students, ensuring they had opportunities he never had. He also started a community center focused on teaching skills like financial literacy, coding, and entrepreneurship. Eleanor became a frequent visitor to the center. She enjoyed watching Jason thrive and witnessing the positive ripple effects of their encounter. For her, the experience reminded her of her own struggles and the importance of paying it forward. Months later, at the grand opening of the community center, Jason stood on stage next to Eleanor. The room was packed with supporters, including many who had been touched by Jason's story. As he spoke, his voice was filled with emotion. None of this would have been possible without one simple decision: to help someone in need. I didn't know where that decision would lead, but I've learned that kindness has a way of coming back to you, even when you least expect it." The crowd erupted in applause, and Jason stepped aside to let Eleanor speak. She looked out at the audience, her eyes glistening with tears. "I've been blessed with more than I ever thought possible," she began. "But nothing has brought me more joy than seeing what Jason has done with his opportunity. Kindness doesn't just change lives, it creates a chain reaction, and I'm proud to be part of his journey." The event concluded with a standing ovation, and Jason and Eleanor embraced as the crowd cheered. In that moment, their story wasn't just about kindness. It was about hope, resilience, and the power of connection. As Jason looked out at the faces in the crowd, he realized how far he'd come. What began as a small act of compassion had grown into something much bigger than himself. And as Eleanor watched him with pride, she knew that her wealth had found its true purpose, not in material possessions, but in the ability to change lives. Their story continued to inspire others, proving that sometimes the most ordinary actions can lead to extraordinary outcomes. And for Jason and Eleanor, their bond became a testament to the transformative power of kindness and the unexpected ways it can shape our lives.